What comes to mind when you hear the words family traditions? Today, Kim and I are going to have a little chat about what family traditions mean or traditions mean to people and the various ways they can look in a family and the importance of, if you're a caregiver or a parent, the importance of incorporating those into your lives. So I'm Penny with FCSS. I'm a family support worker. And this is Kim. I'll let Kim introduce herself.
And I'm Kim Korchak, a family support worker as well in the Taber and MD of Taber area. Welcome today, everybody, as we talk about family, well, traditions, not necessarily family traditions, but traditions and the importance of those. So what does come to mind, Penny, when for you, when the words family traditions are mentioned?
So I think about things that sort of my family growing up did, sort of an always sort of a situation, around this time of the year with holidays. If you celebrate a holiday, little things like, we would go and I lived in BC. I grew up in BC, so we chopped down our trees. So that was a tradition. And so was, tying it to the wall because it would never stand up. A special bread for Christmas morning, so things like that. And then I also think about my own family now, myself and my partner and my children, and the things we are doing as they grow as part of our tradition. So that's what comes to mind for me. What about you?
The first thing that came to mind actually was the tobogganing tradition that we have in our family for these winter months. And growing up, with the kids growing up, we would hook up our quad and put the toboggan behind there. I remember my dad telling us stories where they had one of their best horses. This was back in the day when horses were used for everything, so they were used to pulling. I wouldn't recommend it now, unless your horse is used to pulling, but the horse would pull, one of their team of the horses would pull them on a toboggan. And actually they used a sled to go to their relatives' homes as well. So it was kind of our version, I guess, an updated version of carrying on that family tradition into my family. And it just warms my heart even now to think of all of those times that we did the tobogganing tradition. For me, and another tradition that we do, and it's kind of a little one, but in a big way, and it's really just having family meals together. It's an everyday tradition. It's about having our meals at the table and sitting around as a family. And when the kids were at home, we used to do our highs and lows, especially if it was a special occasion. Then, of course, we made sure we didn't forget. And in fact, our daughter especially would make sure we didn't forget. I remember one time she stood on her chairs and said, "Whoa, hold everything. We haven't done our highs and our lows." So what that was to talk about our day. And my husband and I had a rule that when we shared our highs and lows, if our children shared a high or a low, there wouldn't be reprimands or discipline at that time. That was a time of socializing and sharing and understanding. And I remember one time my son was saying, "Well, my high today, I can't remember what his high was, but his low was when I got called into the principal's office." And I just about choked on my on my supper, and I didn't know. I had no idea, right? So, but again, that was our rule. So there was no reprimand, and it actually was very helpful because it gave us some time to think, calm ourselves down and then talk to him about it afterwards. But it gave him that opportunity. Our kids always knew they could tell us, felt like they could tell us something, especially at supper time. It was a safe time.
Right. Mom and Dad's mouths are full and there's a rule. Yeah, that's a good time to bring it up.
Yeah, they didn't know the rule. We had done it between the two of us.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful example.
Yeah, the traditions that I think of my own growing up, my own youth, and that I've shared with my own children and my family are just so they're strengthening that root and deepening the bond and the connection that we have with our families, even if it doesn't seem like it at the time. Looking back now, just telling that story about my dad, even though I wasn't there, it connects me to my dad. It tells us where we've come from and where we can always go back to, even if our loved ones have already moved to the, passed away, or, with my mom, those memories are what are the glue that bonds us even after the fact. So they're strong.
Yes, and I love the analogy to glue and to roots, because yeah, so the way I think of that is that no matter where you go, you can be home, because those traditions are your home. So, and this particular year, if you're celebrating holidays, those might look very different than they normally would. You may not be spending Christmas with family that you thought you would. And so how can we bring those feelings of togetherness to our celebrations when we may have to celebrate apart? And also, like what you said about for children, that how important it is, because it becomes part of a predictable routine for them, and they know that they have those times, and they can look forward to those times, and they feel safe and secure and known. And then they take that beautiful route, and it can move across the country, and it can stretch, and still they can be home by making a special meal, by using a special dish, by going tobogganing. It doesn't have to be a big, it can be something as small as every bedtime I say to you, love you to the moon and back, or I do the bad dreams go away. So traditions don't have to be big, and they also don't have to be saved for the big occasions, right? You can have
Very
a
often.
tradition that's a daily routine.
Yes, yes. And very often it's the little things, the simplest of things that take the biggest place in our heart that we remember. And I love what you said about, especially now, with the holidays approaching, and for those of us that it brings with that traditions and family traditions. And some of us may not be able to have those traditions in the same way that we have done in the past. And but back to what I said about the traditions being the glue that bond us together. So if that can be the glue that bonds me to my mom who's passed away, if it's that strong, it can glue us to those that are still here that we just can't be with because of the restrictions that we're facing right now. That's how strong rituals and family tradition and culture is. And so even if we can just continue to do it in some way, or even create some new ones, and it all works the same. Very powerful, powerful stuff.
Yeah, and another thought that springs to mind when you use the glue is that connectedness, right? Of this as a regular part of caregiving, really strengthens that connectedness between your family, and how crucial that is for a lot of aspects of growth and development in children, and as your children grow. So that's another really great thing about traditions is you've got tweens and teens, and they're like eye roll, but you can also tell from their face that, well, it's my turn to put the topper on the tree this year, even though it's like dad lifts one of them up every year, and they take turns putting the topper on the tree. And even though they're too cool for that, it's like, hey, it's my turn this year.
Yeah.
Dad might not have to lift me, but that's still my thing, right? And those little bits of connection that are maintained even as your children grow through adolescence, and they remember, and even though they might not seem like it's important, it really, really is. And it's a way to connect them without making it a big deal. Oh yeah, that's right. It is your turn this year. So, right. And that's a beautiful way, I think, especially around the holidays when everyone can be very stressed out, to just kind of relax into the known space of what you've been doing.
Mhm. And one word that you mentioned that makes me think of that we haven't mentioned yet is the word belonging, because the strength that the roots give us in rooting us gives us a strong sense of belonging, and that's what we need. If it's on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, belonging is on there, and it's that important. And one of the ways that if your kids have that family tradition, I suppose, like you say, instilled in them, try skipping it by accident. Even, you forgot whose turn it was, they'll remind you whose turn it is to put the star on the tree, or to whatever the tradition is. um, they'll know, even though they might not want to admit it if they're a teenager, but they still. And once they grow older, it's interesting to watch them using the same traditions with their own family, as well as as well.
Yeah, it is. It follows through generations, and it's a beautiful way of bringing the past to the present, and reminding us where we came from, and giving even a greater root to our children when you can say that, oh, your great grandmother used this bowl to make the Christmas bread in, and that idea of connections that far back even are pretty amazing to kids. I think my kids, anyways, they quite enjoy that idea of that connectedness to the past.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you. That was a good discussion today. So this month of December, Kim and I are going to probably talk a lot about different ways that you can support yourself and your family. If you have any thoughts or questions, please leave them in the comments, or feel free to email us. If you have other needs, please visit our website, www.fcss.ca, for all of the support that's available in your particular area. Thank you very much for giving us some time this afternoon, and I hope where you're at, the sun is shining on you. And we will see you back here next week at 1 o'clock. Take care, everyone.
See you, everybody. Thank you.